When it comes to gouache, water can be your best friend or your worst enemy, depending on how much water you add to your mix. If you don't have enough water in your mix, your paint can be sticky. If you have too much, it will be transparent, and so on and so forth. So let me show you different ways to use water with gouache and what to avoid for successful gouache painting. When you are painting on your palette, you should spray with water from time to time. Otherwise, you will get crumbles of dry paint and it will be very difficult to reactivate. Sure, you can reactivate a dry paint on a palette, but you will never get back to the creamy consistency. So think of hydrating your paint, just like your skin. You need to moisturize it or it will wrinkle and dry like stone. If you are using an airtight palette like this one, and if you don't add enough water to it, your paint will dry. I promise it won't be very pretty to see. Look at that, it's very sticky. Ah, this one is still fresh. Ooh, great. This one is good. I could still use it for painting, but this one, it's pretty much useless. Really depends on the colors you are using. I see that the ultramarine blue kind of sticky. So you could decide that you want to use dry paint, but this is another story for another video that I link below. When I said water can be your worst enemy, it depends on the amount of water you add. And if you don't have enough water in your mix, this is what's happening. Depending on the brand and the pigment inside the brand, you may have very different consistencies directly from the tube. So I have 7 different brands and I can just open one and press it and see this one is pretty creamy and you can move the paint on the paper without adding water. So I'm cleaning my brush between the different colors and I am wiping out the excess water so my test can be accurate. This one is pretty cool as well, but it's a bit more sticky. And if I really want to be precise with my painting, I may have a hard time with a dry brush. So I need to dip the tip of my brush just a bit to kind of smoothen the paint. It's not about diluting, it's about smoothening it. Yeah, and my brush is still dirty from the brown, because I'm not really precious about cleaning for this exercise. This one is an Italian brand and it's giving a lot of crumbles when you open it. And look at how thick and dry this one is. If I am using just a pure paint, there are a lot of crumbles inside, first of all, and it's pretty hard to maneuver. I need to add a tiny bit of water just to smoothen it. And it's very difficult to tell you which brand is more creamy than another, because inside a brand, you can have different consistencies depending on the pigments. This one, for example, is pretty old, and I have the binder coming out, so it will be too liquid. So you don't want to use that in your paint. Basically, it's Arabic gum. Not pretty interesting. This one. So it's not a brand comparison. I just want to show you the difference. Yeah, this one is pretty thick as well, but still easy to maneuver without any water. So my advice would be that you test the different colors you have, depending on the brands, and begin with a damp brush, not a wet brush, because some paints are so creamy that if you add too much water, this is what's happening. So let's take back this green, which is pretty much the perfect consistency to my taste. And I will add some droplets of water. So if I add just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 6, I've lost the count. And I'm taking a almost clean and fresh brush. So let's add just a drop of water, and I have a pretty opaque paint. Let's wipe it out, take paint, and if I have 2 drops, okay, it's still opaque, but it's beginning to be very liquid. Let's go for 3. So I can go further with the amount of liquid mix I have, but it's pretty transparent now. You see, I can go further, but now I'm talking watercolor, I'm not talking gouache. And yeah, here it's a mess. You see? Very, very transparent. So this is not the way to go with gouache. There is too much water. Here there is not enough water because it's straight from the tube. It's pretty hard to move, and I won't be able to paint details. You see, I have rough lines. But here it's not gouache, it's watercolor. So I know a lot of you are coming from watercolor, but beware, gouache needs to be creamy enough so it is opaque, because if it's not thick enough, you won't be able to make gradients, to blend colors together. If you try to blend with a transparent color with not enough pigment and thickness inside, you won't get something smooth and nice. So this is really important that you adjust the amount of water to the brand you have, to the color inside the brand, and to what you want to achieve, because adding 4 or 3 drops of water in the mix is fine for the first layer, which is a bit transparent, but as you layer up, you need to increase the consistency, to increase the thickness, so to add less and less water to your mix. And once your painting is finished, water can still be an issue. If you have a drop of water on your painting, what are you doing? Let's take this random ugly painting, for example. I have water in my pipette, so let's drop just a drop of water. Can you see that? It's here. Move so you see the reflection of it. It's pretty hard to see. Yeah, here you can see it. Yeah, it moved. So this is happening to you. What are you doing now? You have different ways to handle that. You could, if you see it right away, take a clean tissue and press. And if you are lucky, it's okay. But what if you don't see it? So let's place another droplet and let it dry, because you are busy doing something else and you haven't seen it. So the droplet is dry and you have a halo with a lighter color where was the drop. And maybe you won't be able to remix this exact same color. So what you can do is take a brush, dip it in clean water, wipe it out, and just gently blend so you get the pigment that is aside. And you lift the pigment and you move it on the paper. So yes, you will still have a lighter spot, but the thing is to remove the pigment aside, so you have a lighter color everywhere and not just in the droplet. Pretty cool. But water can be used at your advantage with gouache. Let's say this is a finished painting, it's completely dry. And let's say I want to blend this edge because I feel it's a bit too cut out. So I want the two colors to have a soft edge. I will use a clean brush with clean water. And I am removing the excess water and then I am rubbing just the edge of the two colors. Cleaning again, wiping again, and adjusting my blending. Want something soft, very soft. And let's say there is a mistake here, I can fix it. So I have a complete video about how to fix your mistakes with gouache that I link in the description below. But this is a good way to soften an edge. And the best tool you can use is your finger. If you want to, let's say, blend this edge, you can use a brush, but you can also do it with a wet finger. So I will dip my finger in water and I will gently rub the edge. Look at that, very soft edge. The only thing is you want to clean the tip of your finger, because next time if you want to blend blue and you have orange on your finger, you will have trouble. But I like the look of it. I think it's softer than doing it with a brush. And you can also use water to soften large areas. So for this, I will spray just the field, so I'm protecting the rest of the painting. I'm using a spray with tap water and I'm just adding tiny bit of water. And this will help the colors to fuse into each other and to be softer, more blended. So you have to control the amount of water you are adding, because if you add too much, you will get a puddle and you don't want that. But look at that, it's pretty cool. Once it's dry, it's really soft and sweet. So I have a complete video about gouache consistency and I invite you to watch it. It's linked in the description below. And this is something that I see with almost every student of mine. It's the consistency issue. Not enough paint or too much water, it depends on how you see it. But as we saw in this video, the water can be an issue if there is not enough and if there is too much. See you soon!